I'm CB and I'm going to show you a cool way to do dip powder with less contamination. The first thing you're going to want to do is have your client go and wash their hands with antibacterial soap and a brush and brush thoroughly underneath their nails. After the client has washed her hands, clean her one more time with a little bit of sanitizer, just to make sure that if there are any germs left, that we get them all before we start this process. I'm going to show you a great little gadget. This gadget here, you can order them online. A lot of different companies have them. It has two drawers that look like little scoops. Now this is originally used for rhinestones. You can put your finger in here, shake the rhinestones, and then you don't lose your rhinestones. I'm going to use it with dipping powder. Okay, so take your first scoop and we're gonna start with the natural. Natural powder is thinner and stronger. We're just gonna show you on one nail to make the process faster for you. Pour a little bit of the powder in the scoop. Then take your, I like to call it #1 Kira Sky. This is just a dehydrator. It cleans the nail good and makes everything stick, and you're just gonna put that on the base of the nail. Okay, so now you're done with this. You don't need this anymore. So the next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna use the glue. It's called base. It's #2. These bottles have a tendency to glue themselves shut on a regular, almost to the point to where you wonder, why are you doing dip powder? I like to grab these rubber gloves. They have a little grip. Yes. Okay. So after you get the bottle open, what I like to do is I like to put oil all over it so these bottles don't stick. I like to take a little oil, take my finger, and actually I'm gonna do that right now to make sure the bottle doesn't stick. It's the only way I can use this product without getting very annoyed. And so you just put a little oil around it, around the whole thing, and a little bit at the top. And what's great is when you open it, sometimes you'll see a little gooiness that you can get out with the orange wood stick and it's not all stuck together. Okay, now let's start this process. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is take your base. It's your glue. And that you need for everything, the whole process. So you're gonna put it right over the stress area of the tip. Now, if you're doing it on a natural nail, you wouldn't have to do the stress area, you just do one coat of the base. So then you shake this in here on the nail, shake this on the nail, and then just tap it off a little bit, and then let it dry for about 1 minute. Then after it's dry, then you can take this fine brush and lightly brush, get all the dust out of the cuticle. And the reason for this is so that you don't get so much powder into your base, which will cause contamination in your base. The next step is to put another coat over the entire nail. Don't touch the skin. Get it as close to the cuticle as you can and make sure that you cover all of the edges, because this is where your powder is gonna sit. So make sure you cover it pretty good. Then take your little scoop and pour that over it, and then kind of tap it a little bit, make sure it's in there, and then you're going to wait for this to dry for a minute also. And now that this is dry, you've waited a minute, you lightly brush this too, get in the cuticles and get it all out of there. And the color that you used was the natural. I just want to make sure that you have that right. And so you're going to share this through all 10 nails, and you're going to do the exact same steps through all 10 while you're using the natural powder so that you don't waste it. And so then on a norm, I have a lot of it because I'm just showing you one nail, then you would dump this product in the trash because you're not going to use any more natural. And the next thing you're going to do, I love to use these facial wipes. They are lint-free. And what's great about them is you can use them for a little bit. So you're gonna spray your alcohol all over it to keep everything clean, because we're gonna go to another color, which is gonna be the nude. And so we don't want it mixing with everything else that we've done. So you just clean it off a little, kind of shake this out, and then wipe it down. Just make sure there's not too much stuff all over it. And then put your drawers back in. Leave this drawer out because we are going to get to the next color. You're done with your natural. Now we pick up the nude. I only use two colors. I use the natural and I use the nude. Now there's a clear to seal it, but I don't like to soak things off. I feel that every time you soak products off, you damage the nail more and more. I actually use this, I'm old school, and I use this just like I use acrylic. Other than the process and the steps, I fill it. So I only use the natural, the clear, the nude, and then when a person comes in for a fill in 2 weeks, I use gel as the color, so I seal it with a gel. When they come in for a fill, take the gel off, and then the fill is so fast. You just file the nails, and then you would just put one coat of the natural and one coat of the nude, and then you would start the process with the gel all over again. Next, we are going to put the nude on. And you're gonna go ahead and grab your base again. Put one coat over the whole entire nail. Make sure you get all the edges. Do not get on the cuticle at all because things do not stick to the cuticle. If you want lifting, make it stick to the cuticle. So then shake this on just like you did the others. Kind of tap this. And you're gonna wait for a minute for this to dry also. Now that this is dry, go ahead and brush this off very gently, just kind of brush and get that looking all nice and clean. Now I only did one coat of the nude because her nail is short. I don't like the thickness and I don't like it to get too piled up with powder. So if you're doing a very long nail, they have to be a little thicker, and I would suggest 2 coats of the nude or any other color that you're using. So next, we're going to do your last step, which it's going to be the base again. Put it over the whole nail. Make sure you get all your edges. Very good. And don't take too long brushing it because if it dries, then nothing's going to stick. Then we are going to take the clear. And let's just throw this away. And let's take your rag and kind of wipe this out to make sure there's no contamination and there's no pink left in there. Make sure it's good and dry. Then you're going to put a little bit of the clear. The clear is going to seal it up nice so that you can file it, because you don't want to file it until you put the clear on. And then you're just going to sprinkle the clear on there, tap it off, and you're going to let this dry for 1 minute also. Now you can go ahead and close the base jar. You don't want to close it too tight because the top tends to stick to the top and then you'll just break the bottle opening it. You can put that to the side. Now take your brush, because it's dry, and lightly brush it again. It looks pretty nice, turned out great. Now the third step. I said that was the last step. Actually, that's the last step with all the dipping in the base. This is the very last step to the dipping that I use. So it's the seal and protect. You'd never want to put too much of this on. You just get enough to where it looks wet and it looks clean, because if you put too much on, it can make your dipping powder crack and get too hard if you try to do too many layers of it. You're done with this layer now. Now they're solid dry and they're nice and hard. You can put this to the side. You don't need that anymore. You don't need any of your dipping powders anymore. And now let's touch this. Ooh, that feels nice and hard and dry. Now you could take a file, and you aren't going to file this hard at all because you never want to file dip powder hard. You just want to, kind of look at it and see if there's any little bumps that didn't level as great. And another trick is if you roll the powder around in your hand, in the bottle of powder in your hand, it'll help loosen it because you don't want any chunks to come out and not stick right to your base. So see, okay, so we got a nice little shape there. Let's look at this. Wow, it doesn't look like there's too much, maybe a teeny bit in the middle. I'll just pop it a little bit. And then what I like to do is like what I like to do with everything else. Take your black buffer, it's a little coarser. Don't file in the cuticle with this. It'll just give it a nice little shape without over filing it. Just kind of do that. Get around your edges a teeny bit. All right, you're done with the black buffer. Take your white buffer, it's real soft, and now get into the cuticles with that. It doesn't hurt, and it can clean it up nicely, and you can kind of beat the person up with this and they don't scream. All right, now this nail is done, But now, since I like to fill the dipping powder, I like to use my colors, the gel as my colors. We're gonna go ahead and we're just gonna put 2 clear coats of gel on her. Okay, now that they're done, you can go ahead, because we want to keep it all nice and dry. Go ahead and clean it with an alcohol pad. Then we're going to use a primer. This primer actually is for gel, but any dehydrator will work. Just put that on the nail. You don't have to dry that in the UV light or anything like that. It's just liquid. Then we're going to put a base coat, and then she's going to cook for about 60 seconds. And just put, I always say less is more, thinner is better. Even if you have to put 3 coats of something, it's better with the gel to just do it thin and do it like that so it doesn't drip and it doesn't bleed away from the sides. So don't touch the cuticle, and make sure you cover your edges of powder so it's sealed. And it's really good to kind of go around the edge a little bit, because the powder is not that porous once you've buffed it and everything, so you want to make sure everything sticks. Now you're going to go in the dryer for 60 seconds. All right, you've cooked the base. Now, you know what? I said I was just going to do 2 coats of clear, but this nail just looks way too pretty, and I think I want to make it, because it already has a natural nude as far as the dipping, because I like that color, but I'm going to go ahead and stick this clear pink, which is very pretty. Very, very pretty. And I'd like to tell you that the color of this is pink powder puff, but I actually, when I get it, it's very light. So I take a brush, just a little brush of pink, I dip it 1 time, and then I shake it up really, really good to get this color. And that's a beautiful color. And then you're gonna cook that 60 seconds also. Okay, now that that's cooked, last step for all of this process is going to be the gel top coat. And just like everything else, make sure you cover it and do not touch the skin. And especially with the top coat, it's very nice to cap it because it can seal it and it can make it not come off as easily. Now go ahead and cook your finger for 1 minute. 1 minute, and that should be it. The last coat cooks for 1 minute. It's the most important coat. Wow, that turned out beautiful. And you don't have to wipe. Look, she cooked this great. It's nice and silky. I like to use a no wipe top coat, because then you know for a fact it's cooked. That way, if your client hasn't cooked her thumbs well, or if you feel a little tackiness, you know they need to go back in there, because if you do not cook this product, it will come off in a couple of days. And this turned out beautiful. And you don't have to wipe it with alcohol, which keeps your nail nicer. Next thing you want to do is, I like to take a little bit of lotion, because then it helps the cuticles get a little better. Because once you start doing gel things and you don't file around the cuticle as much, the cuticles start looking much nicer. So you can just rub all of this in. And I like to take a little buffer around the edges. Just a little buffer around the edges, just because it cleans that little space there, and it keeps it from coming and having little edges within the first couple of weeks. And then I like to top it off with a little bit of oil, because since the polish and everything is dry, a person can have oil on their fingers and keep them nice and healthy. This was wonderful. This is a great way to do nails with less contamination. That way you do not spread infectious diseases or any other types of germs to your client or yourself. When products are contaminated, they don't work as well, and that goes for any product.